Hi, everyone. My name is Leah Swanberg, and I am the founder of Canadian Fertility Consultants and Egg Helpers. This webinar is intended to spark your interest, um, your curiosity about surrogacy and egg donation in Canada. When we look at surrogacy in Canada, or really anywhere in the world, we are looking at either a surrogate and an egg donor. We at CFC and Egg Helpers don't work with traditional surrogacy. However, there are lots of avenues that you can take to work with a traditional surrogate. For the purposes of this call, I will be talking about surrogacy with an egg donor or using your own eggs. So when you are selecting an egg donor, the fertility clinic you are working with will talk to you about the medical process. And during that conversation, it's really important to get curious about what makes a good egg donor from a medical perspective. Is it her age? Is it her health history? As well as genetic match factors. Fertility clinics have gotten so wise and so great at looking at genetic factors ahead of the embryo creation. So many clinics will use Natera or iGenomics, genetic testing of the sperm provider and the egg donor to ensure that there are no matches that could cause a medical issue for your child. Looking at a surrogate, and years ago, people used to find the egg donor, create the embryos, and then find the surrogate. And what we realized is that it is often a much longer wait to find the surrogate. And so while you are looking for the egg donor, we suggest starting and looking at the surrogate as well to ensure that you're able to proceed within a 1-year timeline, which is really how long we see the average client go from selecting an egg donor or a clinic to the embryo transfer. When you are selecting a surrogate, looking at her overall health, really getting a clear idea from your fertility clinic about what is important in selecting a surrogate. Her health, the number of pregnancies that she's had, if she has had pregnancies at all. It has been a lot of learning within our community in the last few years around childless women wanting to participate as surrogates. I think I was the last holdout of agencies. I really was eventually challenged by a conversation I had with a woman who said she was a feminist, she was not going to have children, but she wanted to do this, and why shouldn't she be able to? At that point, I realized that I had made a mistake. So we have extra safeguards in place, extra counseling. We really just want to ensure that the people participating as surrogates have support, have community, and are certain of their decision. Her emotional readiness. Is the surrogate able to commit to this process? And as I say that, I want to really be clear that today's emotional readiness could be a child becoming terminally ill, a spouse or partner leaving, the loss of a job, a house fire. Life is happening to surrogates as they're participating. And so we see emotional readiness as an important category, but one that we look at more from a overall an overall piece rather than a checks every single box, because life shifts and those boxes crumble. When we're looking at the clinic side of things, when you're working with a fertility clinic, it's so important to talk to them about their success rates, the amount of surrogates that they work with, their understanding of a fertile population, so a surrogate or an egg donor, and how that differs in terms of an infertile population. We at CFC and Egg Helpers love to work with clinics who get it, who understand that a surrogate or a donor is doing this big, huge thing, and that we are going to make this as easy as possible for them. we are going to put them in the room first. We are going to get them out of the clinic first because they are doing this huge thing. And while every patient matters, surrogates and egg donors, they are, top of the list all the time. Do they have safeguards in place to monitor the surrogate and egg donor's health? Is that a priority to them? Does the surrogate feel safe? Does the egg donor feel cared for? So on our webinar upcoming, we will be talking about these topics. We will be looking at the agency's role in surrogacy and egg donation on our next webinar. Then we will be looking at the legal process of egg donation and surrogacy. So as we're doing that, it will be selecting journey partners, agencies, clinics. We'll get really in depth on that. And then the week after, we'll be having an Ask the Expert, which will be a clinic, a lawyer, and potentially other industry partners that we work with to ensure that you have an opportunity to ask those people all of your questions. So as we're looking at this, and we'll get into this in one of our other webinars in more depth, but finding the right egg donor and the right surrogate is really part of your agency's homework. And so we want to know what you want in terms of a relationship with the surrogate, her location. If the majority of Canadian provinces are open to everyone, and we want to make sure that we find a surrogate for you in a province that works for you. Knowing that if you live in Vancouver, for example, maybe 1 of 10, 1 of 20 of our surrogates would be in the Lower Mainland. So it might make sense to extend your search, extend your reach, as the right surrogate could live on the moon. I've always said that. The right surrogate will be the right surrogate regardless of her location. Looking at an egg donor that fits what you're looking for. Finding an agency that has an egg donor that fits what you're looking for. So whether that is a known egg donor, so someone that you know at the time of match and communicate directly with, you may be at her retrieval, you may be involved with her throughout the cycle and ongoing. And for many people, that's really important. They want to know this person. They would like their child to know this person. And for others, it is extremely important that they have an anonymous egg donation. And we value and respect every client that we come across. And we want to show up for you in a donor process that works. So whether it is an anonymous egg donor, whether it is a known egg donor, we want to ensure that your values, and the donors are aligned. As you are working with an agency, ours or another one, ensuring that your surrogate and your egg donor have support. So whether that is coordination of medical appointments, if the surrogate or donor is outside of the community where your clinic is, we want to make sure we have places for her to do ultrasounds and blood work, and for surrogates that we help find them a surrogate-friendly OB or midwife in their community. And as we're doing that, it's really to build the relationship for you and your surrogate. And so what I mean by that is if we can take the details, you will have the ability to focus on the relationship with the surrogate, which is so important to us and we hope a priority to you. Next, when we look at, can you go back to the last slide? Sorry. When we look at the communication piece, we find that we really are a communication center. So we are working with your fertility clinic, we're working with your lawyer, we're working with the OB or midwife's office to ensure they have all of your surrogates' records from the IVF cycle. And we are working with our travel team to get her there. We are working with our finance team to ensure she understands the reimbursements and expenses available to her through the process. And that guidance and that support is from the moment of match until the post-birth process. We want to ensure that your surrogate has everything she needs. We know that through your commitment to her and through our commitment to her, that is where a beautiful relationship will grow. We know that surrogates who are cared for by the intended parents have better odds at delivering on time a healthy baby and feeling well as they move on after participating as a surrogate. For those of you who are outside of Canada, possibly watching this webinar, in Canada, it is an altruistic model of surrogacy and egg donation. That does not mean it's free. It means the money that your surrogate receives will be a reimbursement of her pregnancy-related expenses, and the donor's expenses will include lost wages, childcare, travel to and from your clinic, as well as many other pieces that she may miss in life that she was normally participating in order to act as your egg donor. The lawyer, who we will see on webinar 3, will talk more about the contracts that you will have with your surrogate and donor. It is really important that if you are residing outside of Canada, that you have a lawyer in your home country that is able to advise the Canadian lawyer on any pieces of the contract that may be different based on where you live. An example of that would be for some intended parents, a DNA test is required by the surrogate once the baby is born. And so that will be included in the contract, and that is based on where you live. So the lawyers in Canada are fantastic and work really hard to ensure that all of that is taken care of. And if you don't have a lawyer in your country, we have great recommendations for nearly everywhere, and as do the lawyers here in Canada. When you are looking at the legal process of surrogacy and egg donation, it's not just the contract that you will have with the egg donor and just the contract that you will have with the surrogate. The most exciting part of the legal process, and I would say the most important part, is the post-birth legal process that will have you named as parents. So in Canada, it is a birth certificate that has parent 1 and parent 2. So whether that is 2 women, 2 men, a man, a woman, and then on your passport, it will be the same. Your child will travel home if you live outside of Canada on a Canadian passport. So your child will be a Canadian. And in today's world, we are very proud of that and love that we are able to offer surrogacy to those around the world. I will also say that one piece that we always highlight for people is the need for newborn insurance. So if you are in Canada, your provincial healthcare will transfer to your baby regardless of the province that they live in. And if you are outside of Canada, you will be required to purchase newborn insurance, as yes, your child is Canadian. However, they do not meet the residency requirement in Canada to access healthcare. And so you will purchase insurance through Baby Shield, which is an amazing partner of ours. They sell insurance to intended parents around the world that will cover their baby when they are born. No copays, no out of pocket. It is simply a Baby Shield credit card that you will provide to the hospital. All of these details, from creating the contract with your egg donor, whether known or anonymous, creating the agreement with your surrogate, outlining everyone's roles and responsibilities, the reimbursements she will receive, the information that you will require as you move through the process of your pregnancy and of your surrogacy, and then further your post-birth process, all of that will be taken care of by a lawyer with our assistance. I would love to answer any questions. I didn't want to go too far into detail as I wanted to really encourage you to come onto the specific webinars, which were the next one, as I said, was selecting journey partners. And the week after, we'll be asking the experts. As we are closing off this webinar, I also want to let you know that we will be emailing you information about our program. We will be emailing you information about egg helpers. We will also be ensuring that you have the links to our next and upcoming webinars. In the comments section to your right, there's a spot that you can type in your questions. If you don't want to unmute and ask directly, I'll just leave it open for another moment if you'd like to. We are always excited to see a large group of people on any webinar. Sorry, as you saw my daughter behind me. And so we look forward to supporting you as you build your family. And we truly hope that you would consider Egg Helpers and CFC as you do so.